Okay, Roy, it's too long for a Facebook post, but I'll give you some of the secret sauce. So it's a two-step process. The first step of the process is you have to establish for the student that the quality of how he waits for the ball is more important than the quality of how he hits the ball, because how he waits for the ball will essentially determine how he hits the ball. So you can hit some ground strokes with him. And you bring him up to the net and you ask him to do the following. You tell him you want him to start counting as soon as you hit the ball to him, all right, while he's waiting for the ball. And you count like this: 1, 2, 3. And doesn't matter if you get to 2, doesn't matter if you get to 3. The important thing is that there's a gap between 1 and 2 and 2 and 3. Because if there's a gap between 1 and 2 and 2 and 3, then he's counting slow. He starts over in every shot. He doesn't get to 4 or 5 or 6. And what you should see is that, you've got a trained eye. You're going to see that he's waiting for the ball in a little bit more refined way. There's more silence while he's waiting for the ball. If you don't see results with this, you ask him to count slower. So there's a big gap between 1 and 2. And 2 and 3. And remember, the goal is not to get to 3. It doesn't matter what number he gets to. He may not even get to 2 if there's a big enough gap. Once you see that there's a change in how he's hitting the ball, and you see that he sees there's a change in how he's hitting the ball, then you bring him to the net and you say, look, when you watch a tennis match, what do you see? You see two people hitting, exchanging rallies. One person hits the ball, then he waits. And then the other person hits the ball, then he waits. So depending on where you put your attention, you could put your attention on the person hitting the ball, or you can put your attention on the person waiting for the ball. So tennis can be defined either as a series of shots or a series of waitings, a series of gaps. And as it turns out, the quality of how you wait for the ball is more important than how you hit the ball. Because if there's an imbalance in how you're waiting for the ball, that imbalance is going to show up in a split second in the shot. And everyone has had this experience, 1,000 times. They're returning serve. Person hits a ball that's 2 inches out, and they hit the best return of the day. But it doesn't count. It's a first serve. Excuse me. Then they hit a ball, second serve, that's 2 inches in, and they hit that semi-defensive off the back foot kind of thing. Well, on the first serve, when the ball landed, and the time between when the ball landed and someone hit the ball, it's about 1/10 of a second, there's a gap. That's a gap. And then when someone hits second serve and they acknowledge that it's in, there's also another gap, about 1/10 of a second, if the ball's coming 100 miles an hour. Well, the difference of why the first service return was better than the second was because the quality of the gap was different on the second than it was on the first. So this is a big switch for someone to understand tennis, because they're used to understanding tennis. I hit a ball, then the other person hits a ball, then I hit a ball, then the other person hits a ball. They're missing something very fundamental, that tennis can be considered a series of gaps. So then hit some more ground strokes with him after you give him this understanding, and he acknowledges that he understands that, and everyone will when you tell him about this first serve, second serve. So then working on drop shots. So the key in working on the drop shot is the quality of the gap. So he starts hitting drop shots, but he is experiencing the gap the same way he was experiencing it when he was hitting ground strokes. And he can count, or he doesn't have to count, as long as he starts putting his attention on how he's waiting for the ball. That is the key, Roy. This is what separates players on every level of the game. In crunch situations, the better player experiences the gap differently. So by the time they're about to hit the ball, there's more freedom, there's better racket preparation, there's better footwork, you're making better eye contact, better ball contact, balance, follow through, everything. It's the level of silence as you're waiting for the shot. So when the level of this kid's silence starts to be the same as when he was hitting ground strokes, that there's a much more flow of intelligence between the mind and the body, and the inner genius of the body and the inner genius of the physiology can start to come to the surface more and more. Okay, you get this? We're turning colors here because I'm watching the NBA playoff game. So the key is how he experiences the gap. I saw a video. The kid knows what to do. It's just a question of, refining it and polishing it and disguising it, and it will be greatly disguised when he's sinking deeper into silence as he's waiting for the ball, and, that should do the trick. Anyway, give me some feedback. Would love to hear your experience. Thanks, Roy. Adios, buddy. Bye.